All right, good. Hello again, everybody. This is Jamison J, Manion, and we have over 100 people signed up today. So I wanted to just kind of go through and talk about, why is this important? So when you saw the topic and you said training is not the goal of the training department, it's like, that's an interesting topic, but why is it important? And we look at it, and as professionals, projects include a training in the plan, and the goal is that as you affect change within an organization, that you want to try to get people to actually behave in a way that actually works to use the new changes, use software, fix the problems, however you set it up. And as we see, companies are investing heavily in training. They are working, and I've captured a few stats here. When we look at, and this is the United States, in 2015, last year, over $70 billion total training expenditures, and that's an increase since 2014, and $8 billion spent on outside providers. And so actually 29% increase bringing outside providers, contractors in. And over the travel facilities, another 29 billion spent there, and 33 or 34 billion with a B spent on payroll, but we see that that's a decrease of 20%. And so what we're seeing is companies are moving towards investing in outside providers and not as much on the internal payroll staff. And so when we're looking at, but training, so we're invested these billions of dollars in training, but the reality is training is not the goal. And when we looked at the priorities of why people do training, they want to increase the effectiveness of training programs. They want to reduce the cost. They want to measure the impact of the training programs. The reality is they want to change behavior. Okay, if you could find perfectly trained people that were able to do the jobs without having to invest any money in training, then frankly they wouldn't. And we all know that as times get tough, training is the first to get cut. So we do a lot of investment in training, but the reality is training is not the goal. And so we look at the proposition of what training is about. And if you're involved in training or you are delivering training, you got to think about why you are doing it. What is the outcome you want? So as you deliver more value, then these companies will be more apt to invest again in your services and activities, and you'll have a more successful project. And so the value proposition of training is to improve performance. We want to improve performance of the organizations, of the teams, and of individuals. And all of this depends on what we'll call your organizational intelligence. And I'm going to talk about, we're going to start at the high-level organizations, and we'll go down and talk about teams, and we'll talk about individuals. And hopefully at the end of the webinar, you'll have some ideas on how to think differently about how to change behavior on whether it's a macro scale or an individual scale. We're going to go through some case studies that are real world and talk about how we use them. I've changed the names of the locations and clients to protect those involved, but all of the things we're going to talk about today are based on real world. And so this OQ, what is OQ? Well, we all know intelligence is your ability to acquire and apply knowledge, and your emotional intelligence, this has a lot of press out there, a lot of buzz, a lot of people talking about it, is the capacity to be aware and control and express your own emotions and to grow those personal relationships. And we know that your future success actually has more to do with your EQ than a lot of other factors in your own portfolio. And it could be also the thing that's limiting a lot of people from growing to their full potential. And now we have this other concept that we're promoting. It's organizational intelligence. That's a combination of all of these aspects, and it's the ability of the organization to comprehend what's going on across the large and diverse areas. Just been working on a project that involves India, involves Ireland, it involves multiple states within the United States. And when we're looking at that, it's a very diverse organization. And so as we look at this diverse organization, you've got to understand how to actually manage it. And that really comes down to your organizational intelligence, your OQ. And so the elements of OQ are, they don't just spontaneously form. And it's more so than just human factors. What you really need to be effective with your OQ is, first of all, you need leadership. And leadership kind of sets the spark that guides it. But in my estimation, leadership is about 10% of the equation. and you really need the other 90% to be successful. So leadership, engaged and competent workforce. You need operational systems and technologies that work, because we know that sometimes good people can overcome bad systems, but more often than not, bad systems overcome good people, and people are making workarounds and everything around systems, which is IT professionals. You don't want people doing workarounds. Solid business acumen. You got to know how it works. We've all seen the examples of where we've done a large ERP project implementation. I've been involved with several that didn't deliver on the investment and actually impeded the ability of the business to do its core business. And so when an IT project actually impedes the business, that leaves frustration and detracts from the value. And effective management. And so we see this triangle, and so we have systems, we have business acumen, we have human factors, leadership, and we have management. And you'll see at the bottom, it says figure 3.7 on page 159, and that's from the book, The Workforce Engagement Equation, which is a guidebook. It's a practitioner's handbook that goes along with OQ. So our objectives today is provide a positive return on your investment. I want everybody here, all 100 folks who've signed up, to feel like they have been a good investment of your time. I want to try to increase your OQ and your understanding of it. I want to add to your toolbox. I want to review some logic models that will help you think about your organizations and teams and individuals, and talk about something we'll call the stages of organizational maturity. And we want to go through some case studies, and then I want to answer your questions. So you can be sending questions through the chat, and Jessica will be keeping track of them, and we'll answer all kinds of questions. And if you've got some case studies or something that's particularly bothering you, then we'll try to work on that on the fly. So again, shoot your email and your questions to Jessica, and she's keeping track of them, and we'll go through those. So let's talk about building your OQ. It requires understanding of all the drivers that affect organizational performance. And I use this methodology that I've coined called comprehensive organizational management. It's not just project management. It's not just basic. It's comprehensive. And the WEQ, which is the Workforce Engagement Equation, is not just the book. There's a whole methodology around it that talks about the diagnostics. You got to be able to first identify what's going on. Systems thinking, behavioral economics, and then a manager's toolkit that goes along with what you do. Because recognizing a problem is great, but knowing what to do about it is better. Having the tools and the expertise to actually affect it, that's really the best case. First of all, I said I'm an applied behavioral economist, all right? And what that means is that economics is concerned with the utilization of scarce resources. We always hear about, large terms like the gross domestic product and consumer spending, and we always think of it as money. But the reality is economics is anything that's scarce resources. How do you, when we're looking at the carbon tax, if we're looking at these other aspects, it's how humans actually affect their performance and their behavior. And it's an emerging field that helps to explain behavior in terms of prioritization. And we assume that all behavior is rewarding on some level. So even dysfunctional behavior, even behavior that doesn't seem to be serving the outward purpose, you all know and work with people, it's like, why are you doing that? It's not really helping us. It's not helping you, but there's some aspects below it. So part of being effective is not just looking at the training, but looking at what is driving the behavior? Because a lot of times we know that people don't always act. Just because they know it doesn't mean they do it. How many of you have made New Year's resolutions or things you wanted to change that you never followed through and weren't able to do that? So some fundamental concepts of this is what you value, you resource. If you think something is important, if you think it's necessary, then you're going to put some level of time and energy into it. And the more important you think it is, the more time and energy you'll put into it. And so if you say you value something, but you never invest in time or money in it, and you really don't value it that much, it's not one of those things that you think is a large priority. So if I say, gosh, you're really, really important, but I never call you, I never email you, I never return those things, then the reality is I